Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to our friends online. Welcome. Let us sing in the joyousness that we are here together, that we are alive and strong this evening. Let us sing in this World AIDS Day Shabbat with a beautiful song. I want to welcome my friend to the Bima, Ronnie Mardor, who is joining us again for the second time. Welcome back to Kol Ami. We're happy to have you, and you'll be happy to have her too.
Please join us in singing. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
It's okay to be joyous.
Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, yad alai, yad alai. Hine ma tov, yad alai, yad alai. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
So when Michael Sugar and I talked about this tonight's Shabbat, World AIDS Day Shabbat, Michael said to me, let us be joyous in our music. Let us bring joy in. And this next melody that Ronnie is going to sing with all of us is all about joy. The joy of Shabbat, the joy of bringing in.
Yes. And the joy of music and singing together as a community. It's called Lechu Neranena, and this is Nava Tehila's version. It's very, you'll feel it with you. Just join us. I think it's a sentence and a half, and it repeats itself many, many times.
So much much, Ronnie. So tonight we begin with a prayer for a memorial candle for this special day, World AIDS Day Shabbat. And this prayer was written by your Rabbi Emerita, Rabbi Denise Egger. So before we invite all of us, and Reverend Keith Cox is with us, it is an honor to have you with us. Before he speaks and we invite you all to light, it just felt appropriate to start with this blessing and this lighting. And as I share this blessing, I also just want to acknowledge that to lead services tonight with a panel of the quilt, we welcome in the spirit of Ish and Robert and Bill, or William, his formal name, and John and David and Howard and John and Jeff to be with us, as well as all of our loved ones whom have gone to the great beyond. A prayer for lighting the memorial candle. On December 1st was World AIDS Day. We take time as a community to remember our friends and family members who have died from AIDS and HIV. Jewish tradition teaches us to revere the memory of our loved ones and to honor their lives in two ways: by giving tzedakah in their memory and by living our lives in their honor. World AIDS Day also reminds us that AIDS is still here. We still have a responsibility to continue our care for our friends and our neighbors who have AIDS and HIV. In partnership with social agencies, we must convince the members of our government to help those who have HIV disease and to educate and work for the prevention of the disease. World AIDS Day is also a reminder to us that AIDS is a global issue that touches every nation and every continent, and we cannot ignore the staggering numbers of people worldwide who are affected by HIV/AIDS. We light this candle of memorial, a yahrzeit candle, in memory of our loved ones. And I bring to mind all of the dear ones who have died, both from our community here at Kol Ami and across the world, who have died from AIDS and HIV. May their memories be for a blessing. May their souls be at rest and peace. And may this candle serve as a symbol of hope and healing in our life. As this yahrzeit candle burns pure and bright, so may the memory of our dear ones brighten and purify our lives. V'nomar, and we say together, Amen. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam, chofesh kol chai, kol chadrei vaten. The life breath of man is the lamp of the eternal, revealing the eternal's inmost parts. Proverbs 20:27. And this beautiful blessing was written by your Rabbi Emerita, Rabbi Denise Egger. And so with that, I want to say that tonight we gather as a community to support one another, to honor, to remember, to uplift, to celebrate those who are living and who are still living. And we have a number of speakers and blessings that we will be offering in honor. And we pray. We pray on our most sacred day in the presence of all of the loved ones whom this AIDS, HIV has taken from us physically, from this world. It is truly my honor to invite forward Reverend Keith Cox of the Center for Spiritual Living, is that correct? And they share our spiritual home with us and have for many years. And he's going to share some words with you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here with you tonight, to continue this tradition that takes place at Kol Ami of honoring World AIDS Day. And so for those of you that have put it together, thank you for organizing that. It's something that I know touches each and every one of our hearts, and we're here not only because we are here to be in community, but also to honor and acknowledge and remember that which has transpired. And thank you for sharing this space with you, and congratulations. It's the first time we've shared this space together, and I know that the future of Kol Ami is quite bright because of all of you and Rabbi Resnick. Recently, I was with someone who was much younger than I am, and we were watching the movie, The Normal Heart. And this individual really had no perspective of what was happening. And there was a scene in particular that really shocked him a bit, and at the same time reminded me of that which so many of us have lived through and so many did not. And in The Normal Heart, there's a scene where the character played by Jim Parsons, while standing over an open casket with his friend lying in it, says the following: "I hate these funerals. I really do. You know what else I hate? I hate the memorials. This is our social life now, going to these things." Nick was a choreographer. Many of you probably didn't know that. He was just starting out and he didn't tell a lot of people. He was waiting to invite you to his big debut at Carnegie Hall or some crap. He was so good. He had such promise. We're losing an entire generation. Young men at the beginning just gone. Choreographers, playwrights, dancers, actors, and more. All those plays that won't get written now, all those dances never to be danced. In closing, his character said, "I just gonna say I'm mad. I'm freaking mad. I keep screaming inside. Why are they letting us die? Why isn't someone helping us?" And here's the truth. Here's the answer. They just don't like us. Now, I tell this story and recant that piece of The Normal Heart to set the stage for the dark times that we lived in then. It was during those times, as a young person, much younger than the individual who was watching the movie with me the other night and had no perspective or relation to this, that I was at a loss, much like I'm sure many of you here were during that time. And it was at that time that I was introduced to the teaching, the science of mind, that we practice primarily at the Center for Spiritual Living. And I remember sitting in a chair very much like the one I'm sitting in tonight, down at the front in the corner, absorbing all I could, and reading on the bulletin that was handed out each day the words, "Change your thinking, change your life." And being a boy that had been raised in the Southern Baptist tradition in Georgia, being told that I was going to hell for being a little homosexual, those words impacted me so greatly. To change your thinking, to change your life. Well, what was it I was being drawn to change my thinking in regards to? Well, in so many ways, everything. But primarily, it was around my self-worth. As a gay person, as a homosexual, well, someone that was being called a fag all the time, and to accept my divinity and to accept to the best of my ability what I could do to know myself as a complete, whole, worthwhile being as AIDS was unfolding. One of the things that I resonated with so much, and still do to this day, and I believe much of what called me to become a minister, is this component of our teaching, which says there exists in every person a place that is free from disease, that never feels pain, that is ageless and never dies. When we journey to this place, and I believe we do that by changing our thinking and changing our life, the limitations that we commonly accept simply cease to exist. They're not even a possibility. This is the place called perfect health. It's called life itself. In our philosophy and faith, it's called our soul. It's where we connect to that which we call God. Tonight on this Shabbat service, as we come together to acknowledge and honor World AIDS Day, we honor this place within each and every one of us and within all of humanity. And specifically, we come together tonight to honor it within each individual who has transitioned from this life to another plane of existence. And we honor all those who are still living with HIV. Recently, I'm assuming all of us were a part of a community that chanted quite loudly, "We're not going back. We're not going back." Tonight, I want us to affirm that that is true for us in regards to HIV and AIDS and other facets of what we've known to be who we are as a community that's gay, LGBTQ, and beyond. One of the other components of the science of mind that I resonate with is a quote from Gary Zukav, which says, "Choice is the engine of our evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. Choosing to evolve consciously is much better than unconsciously, and most often far less painful." He goes on to say, "Trust me, been there, done that." The power of choice is the greatest gift we've been given, second only to the gift of life itself. Each Sunday morning, each time we come together as a community, we perform a ritual called calling in the light. Tonight, we're going to do an adapted version of that, specifically for World AIDS Day and using a blessing of hope. And we perform this ceremony, this calling in the light, which we've already done so beautifully and eloquently and touching, so that we all may remember the power of choice that we have and how we choose to live our life, and to acknowledge those who have passed and are still living with AIDS. And as we call in the light, my acronym for light is living in God's healing truth, and it's the God that resonates within you and within me, and however we define it or whatever we may call it. And as we call it in tonight, may we remember all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings, and remember that they're one with the great universal presence, which we call spirit, but it matters not what we call it. And I invite you to join me tonight in knowing that, yes, it's been a long and challenging journey. My first loved one that passed away from HIV and AIDS was in November of 1982. But let's also remember, just as Rabbi Denise told us in her blessing and prayer, our work is far from over. And tonight, may we each make a commitment and a covenant that as we go forth, may we be empowered with the spirit of hope and healing, whose one name is God, and whose other name is love, and also light. And may the blessings of love be upon us and within us always. I invite you to take in this blessing by Maureen Killerman, and let it resonate with your heart and your soul, and be a calling to what you choose to do and be as we go forward, honoring those tonight. May love's truth be upon our vision. May love's wisdom dwell within our hearts. May love's persistence inspire our lips. May love's gentleness give comfort to our bodies. May love's gratitude accompany our sleep. And may love's healing be a balm for our brokenness. May love's serenity give peace to our weary souls. And may love's confidence energize our minds. May love's challenge keep us faithful. Faithful in our struggle, faithful in our conviction that love and justice, something that I know is very important to this community, and hope will ultimately prevail. Lisa's going to play some music underneath for us, and I'm going to go light the candle, which represents that we've called in the light. And as I do that, may it ignite within each and every one of us a resonance with whatever we consider to be the divine. And then I'll invite each one of you up to come and light a candle, and feel free to call out the name of those that you would like to remember.
each Sunday when we light this candle, we define it as the healing candle. I'd like for that to be included. I'd like to call out the names of Don Stevens, Chuck Wells, Philip Houseworth, Art K., Richard Patterson, and Jesus Ernesto Reyes. Feel free to come up.
David Mann, so many others.
Sandy Rubin.
Cleo Speedy Blackburn Jr.
Doug Rudlinger.
John Murphy, Tim Murphy, Clint Martell, so many, many more.
Danny Zeff, Randy Hansen, Chuck Hansen, Graham Perry.
My lover Lloyd, who died in my arms of AIDS. And he was 44 years old.
Neil Wright.
For Hayes Robinson, who inspired a little kid in theater class and was a great artist. Kenny Scharf and his brother, Brad, and countless other New York dancing friends.
And so as our beloveds here continue to light candles, let's know that as each flame is ignited, it represents one or more who tonight was nameless, but not insignificant. And may we invite in their energy as angels to give us strength as we continue living this life, being the love, and sharing it with each other.
So it's now my honor to invite forward another member of our community, Johanna Shore, to share a little bit about what this day means to her before we bring in our Shabbat lights.
Hi. I wanted to share this with Michael tonight as well. So I could change the date on this, but about 35 years ago, I came to a place called the Los Angeles Center for Living in West Hollywood, a place for people dealing with life-threatening illness or grief. Some said it was the heart of the AIDS crisis in LA. We offered love and comfort and community to everyone who asked. As a psychologist, I soon learned that all my education and all my training were of little value for people at this time of their lives. I had to go deeper. I had to find another way to connect with and help the men and women I met with. I had to find a spiritual way in. As many of you know and remember, hundreds of people in our small village died and were buried and were mourned. And then there were more to honor and to bury and mourn. And the waves of death and mourning continued until I tried not to be numb to the devastation that was happening all around me and went deeper into my prayers. Medical miracles began to arrive and the deaths became fewer and less frequent, and I began to act as if it hadn't happened or it happened a long, long time ago. My own spiritual journey continued. I found myself going to different synagogues, maybe like some of you today. Shul shopping, it's called. In Los Angeles, there is this renaissance of Jewish learning and searching, and there are many wonderful places to go and many brilliant people to study with. And believe me, I have prayed and studied with some of the best. But I kept searching, though, and I kept almost connecting. But there was never the fit until I came to Kol Ami. And then I remembered what had brought me to my spiritual path, my Jewish spiritual path. And it was being able to remember and mourn all those young souls, lost in a time where shame and isolation were more palatable than comfort and community. And here I found Kol Ami, a community that always remembers, with Rabbi Denise Ager leading us in prayer and leading LA's longest-running Jewish AIDS support group. I slowly began to see the celebration that's only possible for me within a community that also remembers. Out of my knowing this has grown a strong foundation in which I now depend for comfort that's helped me deal with my own parents' passing, a place to say Kaddish, and a community that celebrates my uniqueness. It is important as adults, as spiritual adults, to not only be able to support ourselves, but to support others and ensure that there will be a place to go to remember and mourn and celebrate and connect. I welcome you here tonight to do just that. Thank you.
We're on page 120 as we invite Johanna and Michael to light the Shabbat lights. Let us bring in the beauty, the rest and renewal that this sacred day brings to us. We bring in the light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you so much. So Reverend Cox mentioned welcoming the angels, and we have a beautiful song, a beautiful prayer that we sing on Shabbat, where we welcome in the Shabbat angels to bring us that extra spirit, that extra nephesh soul that we're given on Shabbat. And tonight, as we commemorate all those lives lost, we welcome their spirits along with the angels of Shabbat to be with us. And we sing together, Shalom Aleichem, welcoming them.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
So my beautiful Kol-Ami family will take a moment, and tonight just a moment, to welcome one another, to offer someone Shabbat Shalom, and then we will go directly from that beautiful moment into the Baruch Hu, so you can remain standing. Go ahead. Welcome to our friends online. Good Shabbos, everyone. We turn to page 146. As we 146, we find our call to prayer. Join us. So this next prayer is also written by your Rabbi Emerita, a reading for Ahavat Olam. We sing out in hope that you, Adonai, will walk with us on our journeys. You have loved this people, Israel. You provided a pillar of smoke by day and a pillar of fire at night for the children of Israel in the desert. Provide now for us, those affected by HIV disease, a beacon of light. Light our way in this desert of AIDS. In the barren wilderness of our illness, urgently do we call out to you. Be with us now and always. Redeem us from pain and help us to be whole once again. Strengthen our resolve and love us. Praised are you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel, and lights our way. And now I invite you, if it is your practice, we're going to sing a Shema that you've heard once if you were here with Ronnie and with us before. But if it is your practice to rise for the Shema, for our prayer of unity and oneness and connection, to do so. And as you catch on to this beautiful melody, may it echo not only through your mouth, but also through your heart.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Heaven and earth will shake at the sound of your name. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated. We turn to our prayer that speaks of loving God with our whole self, with our whole being. Please join me in chanting the Ve'ahavta on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Our hope. At times, it seems as if all are gone. We look and see fewer faces, thinner faces, and yet we make our hope grow once again by planting seeds of love, seeds of renewal, open hearts in community, and we will bloom and grow once again if we reach out to each other and to the Holy One. Let us sing our song of freedom, a song of hope for our people, for a better world, for a better future for all who are in need. Mi Chamocha is found on page 158.
Na
So this next prayer asks God to spread a shelter of peace over us, over, I would say, this sacred community, and really over the entire world. Who is in need of peace right now? Hashkivenu is that prayer. The words are found on page 160, and I invite you to sing with us, to bring this Sukkat Shalom with our words, with our community together tonight. Kol Ami.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים.
Hopefully you feel that sukkah of peace around you. I know I certainly do. It is now my honor and privilege to invite forward Travis Terry to share some words with you tonight.
Shabbat Shalom. This is when all those acting lessons come in handy, right? I feel like I should put some Hebrew in here, but I didn't. My first recollection of AIDS was sitting on my parents' couch in 1985 and watching the news report that Rock Hudson had died from AIDS. I was 17, still in high school and living with my parents. Although I was in the closet, I had just become sexually active not too long before. I remember clearly understanding that my world had shifted and would never be the same. I felt paralyzed with fear, anxiety. For a long time, sex equaled death. Yet sex was so powerful that I couldn't, or wouldn't, just say no, to quote a certain ex-president's wife. The constant pull between fear and anxiety and desire lasted for many years. Some of you will remember the constant testing for HIV and the 2 weeks it took to get results. Now it's like, what, 10 minutes? Damn. Sorry. I'm glad this is a Reform congregation. I managed to avoid becoming HIV for about 5 years, but in 1989 I tested positive. I told my father and my stepmother, and they took it hard. Interestingly enough, a month later I tested negative. I told my father and stepmother, and they were relieved, to say the least. But in February 1990, a couple days after my 22nd birthday, I got the result that has stayed with me for the last 35 years. I was HIV positive. This time, I did not tell my father and my stepmother. I figured I might as well protect them from as much pain for as long as I could. I was never going to tell my mother, actually, as I didn't think she could handle it. However, my brother outed me to her, both as a gay man and being HIV positive. And that's when I got the histrionic tears and lecture about how afraid she was that I was going to hell. That was fun. I remember telling the counselor who gave me the positive result that I had to remember that this did not make me a bad person. She encouraged me to remember my own words. Unfortunately, I was not able to remember them for many years. I can now. I honestly did not think I would live to see 30. Spoiler alert, I'm still here. Really, through no fault of my own, I certainly didn't change anything in my life to become healthier. I had no skills to deal with my grief, rage, and fear. I turned to drugs and alcohol, and life got pretty messy pretty quickly. I figured since I was dying anyway, I might as well find out what all the fuss was about, and I took a swan dive into addiction. Not my best move, and one I'm quite ashamed of, actually, if I were being honest with you. I tell you this not because I want pity or attention, but because you should know that I was no hero during the AIDS epidemic. I didn't do nothing, however. I volunteered for a bit with APLA. I did the AIDS walk several times. Anybody remember the APLA dance-a-thons back in the day? In the mid to late 1990s, when I was in my hermit stage, I volunteered in the positive living room of the LGBTQ forum on AOL. Basically, it was a chat room, for those of you who are too young to know what this is. Basically, it was a chat room and message boards for people who were living with or who loved people who were HIV positive. A completely online community, something that was new-ish at the time. We laughed and loved and supported each other through hopeless times, and we grieved when we lost members, and we lost members. That's where I was when the world shifted again and protease inhibitors were announced. Suddenly, we had hope for life. The positive living room was a source of information and support for the people in the room who often had no other resources, and I'm talking all the way across the country. And I'm glad I was a part of it. So I didn't do nothing, but I was no hero. There were people, this kippa will not stay on tonight. There were people, some in this room, who marched and protested and fought for the lives of HIV positive people. There were people who were caretakers deep in the trenches with the sick and the dying. They were doctors and dentists and dog walkers and cooks, hairdressers, therapists, priests, rabbi, ministers, lawyers, and artists who volunteered their time and knowledge and compassion freely. People who gave so much of themselves that it was years before they were able to find their emotional footing again. There was also the sick and the dying. I don't think I'll ever understand where the courage comes from to face each day with a failing body, knowing that there is nothing that can be done but trying anyway. Where does the courage come from to endure the loathing of people who told us that God hates fags and that AIDS was God's punishment? Where does the courage come from when they had to listen to politicians and religious leaders mock and condemn them? But they found the courage. They were the real heroes and I was not. While I was swept along with the tide and filled with rage, grief, and sorrow, I didn't even do a fraction of what I could have done had I more courage. There have been other shifts in the world. Sometimes we're very conscious of them, and sometimes we only see them in hindsight. On November 6th, the world shifted, and I am very conscious of it. America elected a government that I believe will be dangerous, uncaring, and destructive. America elected a government that doesn't believe in compassion or protection for the marginalized. America elected a government that is gleefully hell-bent on destroying whatever progress has been made in the last 100 years in the areas of civil rights. Life is going to get darker, more difficult, and dangerous. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I am very conscious that we will not be able to rely on our government to help the poor and the sick. Resources like food, healthcare, and housing will become even more scarce. In response, we will need to be even more compassionate, caring, and giving than we thought we could be. This is where I should put the Hebrew words. We will need to be more politically active. We will need to use our voices loudly. We will need to be, in short, heroes. But remember, I am no hero. I'm old, crotchety, and frankly, exhausted. I've been exhausted since 2016. It takes a lot of energy and attention just to get myself to work, keep myself fed, clothed, and housed, nurture my relationships, and seek God. And all the while living in a world in which so many people hate me and people like me. Where do I find the energy and the courage to become a hero? The answer is I don't have to be a hero. We don't have to be heroes. We just have to do something. I'm not much of a political activist. Conflict makes me nauseous. The idea of demonstrating in front of a government building triggers deep-seated anxiety. There are things I can do to use my voice, though. I can volunteer with any number of organizations that help feed and house people and/or protect the marginalized. It doesn't have to be all-consuming, but it has to be something. I'm pretty good at baking and cooking, and I imagine I can make a cake or two, or a meal or 5 for people who are good at political activism. I can smile at and listen to people who are in crisis, let them know they are not alone, and maybe refer them to resources that they need. There are endless possibilities. I just have to do something. Tonight, as we honor the past and our dead, we also honor our spirit that helps us push back against the darkness of the past and will help us push against the darkness that is coming. All we have to do is do something, anything. So I challenge myself and you to figure out what that something is and just do it. In the meantime, let's not forget that even in darkness, we can love and laugh and live and dance and sing. Shabbat comes around every Friday night, and we can also find joy and peace in that. I'm grateful that I am here in this place at this time with all of you. Shabbat Shalom.
Such a blessing to be in this incredible community. I'm really feeling that tonight, Kol Ami. Thank you, Travis, for your beautiful words and for your courage. And we will do something together. We will do a lot of some things together. So, with those words, we are going to head now into with those words, we're gonna head into the Amidah, and I want to invite you, if you're able to, please rise. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. Ask God to open our mouths so that our lips may declare God's glory. That prayer is found on page 164, and I invite you to reflect on some of the incredible messages that have been shared with us this Shabbat tonight. Reflect on the lives lost and the lives loved while you pray either the prayers of your heart or the prayers of our tradition. Of our tradition begin on page 166. You may pray the prayers upon your heart or our traditional prayers, and when you are done, you may be seated.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך הדור, לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך הדור, לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
It is my honor to invite forward a member of our board of trustees and a great support and help in planning this special Shabbat. And so I invite forward Michael Sugar. You'll come up afterwards. Co-President Leonard Slutsky. I invite forward Michael Sugar to share some beautiful words with you all. Do you want this one or this one? Okay.
Against all odds. First, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated up here on the Bima and all of you who have come here tonight to make this so precious and so meaningful. Thank you for coming to Kol Ami to welcome Shabbat and to honor World AIDS Day. As we gather as a community, we mourn those we've lost along the way and carry their memories with us always. We also devise ways to move forward together, meaningfully, and always with hope. The Kol Ami community was particularly impacted by HIV/AIDS, and we were at the forefront of care and support for people living with many challenges of navigating life. Decades ago, Kol Ami established the first support group of its kind. We called ourselves the Kol Amigos. At that time, it was extremely rare for a community of faith to embrace people living with HIV/AIDS. And we, all of us in our community, in some of the hardest and saddest days of our lives, built a community. And that's just one facet of why I love Kol Ami, community and connection. So I want to tell you a little of my story. Some of you have heard at least part of it before, so I'm asking those of you who have heard it before to just indulge me, please. In 3 months, it will be 40 years since my doctor told me, maybe 2 years. What would you do if your doctor told you that you had 2 years to live? I don't know when I became a long-term survivor. The prevailing wisdom at that time was that the AIDS mortality rate was 100%. In 3 weeks, I'll be celebrating my 65th birthday. When did that happen? maybe I've just had tenacity and an abiding curiosity to know what happens next. But I think there are other reasons too, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. In the 1990s, I was in a very deep depression driven by health challenges and indescribable grief. Already, I had far outlived the prognosis that I was given. I was consumed with toxic rage, so much anger. And I tortured myself with questions that don't have answers. Questions like, why am I still here? But I was incredibly fortunate to find a way to channel some of that anger and outrage and grief into a meaningful, productive action. I found my voice in activism in the form of a group called ACT UP, the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power. I remember my first ACT UP rally. I stumbled into it by accident in Westwood, and the first thing I remembered noticing was how sick so many of the participants were at that rally. And I understood that they were acting up for somebody else. They were keeping AIDS in the faces of people who didn't want to know about it for somebody else. It was too late already for many of them. That's an indelible memory. And I could never have known then that being affiliated with activism, just doing something, as Travis talked about, action that saved lives and altered the course of a pandemic, would be the thing in my life that I'm proudest of. I'm actually just remembering that I am wearing, along with my Star of David, these dog tags that I wore at ACT UP rallies. I wore them when I was arrested in Washington. One is blank, and the other one has a red ribbon etched into it. My activism during that time brought me back to life. It helped me find purpose and meaning in a time of terrible darkness. When I think back on it today, it was my work as an activist and as a caregiver that connected me with the awareness of the depth of my capacity for compassion. And that is something that I might never have known about myself otherwise. I'm asking everyone here who might be feeling angry and sad and discouraged about the recent election that Travis spoke about, and where our country might be heading, I'm asking you all not to disconnect. Do something. Volunteer. Protest. Use your voice. Speak your truth. Don't be silent. Take care of yourself. Absolutely take care of yourself. That's going to be more necessary than ever. But don't disengage. We need you. We need our community. We have work to do together. Our community has been down this path of standing together and doing hard work before. At a service several months ago, Rabbi Resnick remarked, "What happened once upon a time happens all the time." And those words resonate powerfully with me. My parents were Holocaust survivors. I'm sure they struggled with that gray line between never forget and not wanting to burden their children and the next generations with the nightmares that they endured. But somehow they instilled in me a strong will and a desire to find purpose and meaning in having survived. The last time I saw my dad before he passed away was at the AIDS quilt in Washington in 1996. It was an incredible expression of love that at 89 years old, he drove from Pennsylvania to meet me at the quilt. And I didn't expect that he would really understand what the quilt represented for me. But he did. He took my hand and said, "Michael, you will never get over this, but you must learn to live with it in order that you can go on with your life." And it was my dad's wise words that finally helped pull me out of that depression and to begin to reconcile impossible questions like, why am I still here? Thanks to my father's advice, I finally let myself off the hook, realizing that if I live to be 1,000, I'm never going to get answers to those questions from the outside. The answer has to come from in here. And the answer that I gave myself at that time was that maybe I'm one of those people who is trusted to get the story right. My dad died soon after that day at the quilt. And the first time I ever came to Kol Ami was to say Kaddish for him. I had been disconnected from my Jewishness for years, but I knew that it would matter to him. Maybe he led me to Kol Ami. He would be so proud of our remarkable community. I want to read a letter that he sent to me shortly before he died. I've read it here before, so again, those of you that have heard it, indulge me. But first, I want to ask you to look at these words above the ark. With you is the fountain of life. By your light do we see light. Now, I just want to stop here and pause and say, there's a whole lot happening here tonight to absorb and to digest. There's a whole lot of emotion. But if, after you go home, you think about tonight, if you happen to think about the words that I've shared, this is the part that I want you to remember, okay? With you is the fountain of life. By your light do we see light. I used to think that those were our words to God, but now I read them in a whole different way. And I think these words are talking directly to me. I think these are God's words to us, to our whole community. With you is the fountain of life. And by your light do we see light. Do you hear in those words an invitation? Do you see an opportunity? Here we are, wedged between Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. I'm asking everyone to join with me in being the light that illuminates our addled world. We are going to work together. I'm here frequently, I'm on the board, I'm easily reached. If you have ideas, if you want to talk, if you want to maybe put a little group together to begin to address, what do? Let's do that. And I look forward to working with all of you. And now, in closing, I want to read this letter that I mentioned that my father wrote to me before he died. My dad was not formally educated. He didn't read and write English very well. He was like a self-made man, you'd call him. So the fact that he sat down and to put pen to paper and write a letter, I knew took tremendous effort for him. It also matters a lot to me to share this letter again, because in my reading it to you, I know that it is an answer to his prayer. And it's an answer to the thing that he used to refer to me as my prophecy. And this is what he wrote. Dear Michael, my dear son, I want you to know that I'm thinking of you every minute of the day and night. And I'm praying that in the very near future, there will be a total cure for this unfortunate sickness that is snuffing out the life of so many young and talented people in our country and the entire world. Michael, please be strong and make every effort to overcome all the odds. And I always pray every day that you will reach an old age, and when I'm not here anymore, you'll tell everybody, my father told me that.
I don't know if your eyes are dry, but mine are certainly not. So our thoughts turn now to all of those in our hearts, in our families, in our community who are in need of healing, and there are so many. I'm going to invite you in a moment to fill this space with the names of your loved ones who are in need of healing. And then we will sing our healing prayer. And on this very special Shabbat, we send healing to all of those who are mourning loss, who are grieving from all of the beautiful young lives that were taken from us far too soon. And the names should come up on the screen in a moment for those whom we are sending healing prayers in our community. And as my hands come across both sides of the room, I invite you to lift up the names of your loved ones. We will fill this space with their names, and then we will sing together. And the Mishaberach is our prayer for healing. It's found on page 109. Please share your names now. Want to remind us that I learned, I don't know, about a month ago that Debbie Friedman wrote that during the AIDS crisis, and she wrote it so that in Jewish community we could pray for healing. And now it has become a cornerstone of all of our communities. And I think that's important to lift up and to remember. Now it is my honor and privilege to invite forward the co-president of our congregation and our board of trustees, Leonard Slutsky, to share some words with you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, I'm Leonard Slutsky, one of the co-presidents of Congregation Kol Ami. Standing here amongst the light of the memorial candles and the quilt, I have incredible gratitude for our community and the people who shared their stories and experiences today. Johanna, Michael, Travis, everyone who came up to light a candle. This is a meaningful night for me, and being able to hear your stories and teach me is something that I really value about Kol Ami, so I have a lot of thanks for that. It takes a lot to make the magic happen here. We have an amazing rabbi, Rabbi Resnick. We have Lisa Edwards on piano, our cantorial soloist, Ronnie Mardor. Thank you again for joining us. Special guest, Reverend Keith Cox, thank you for joining us tonight. Travis Smith on AV, Leonard Seelig for helping with the ONEG, Michael Sugar and Travis Terry for sponsoring the ONEG, thank you. and Adam for making everything function here at the temple. So we are continuing with all of our great programming here with Wednesday Torah Study online with Rabbi Resnick. On Sunday, we began our Intro to Judaism class, so please tell your friends and family who might be interested in a deeper look into the rituals and traditions of Judaism. On Saturday, January 4th at 3 p.m., Dr. Jane Drucker will have our next book circle. We'll be discussing The Hebrew Teacher by Maya Arad with 3 novellas, 3 Israeli women, their lives altered by immigration to the U.S., seek to overcome obstacles. Tomorrow night is Open Yad's Latkes and Libations Hanukkah party, and Sunday is the Men of Kol Ami Hanukkah garden party at Dan Blatt's home. This Tuesday, December 10th, we've rescheduled our conversation with online talk and TV personality Shai DeLuca, who is a tireless advocate against anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. If you signed up, you'll receive the link, and if you want the link, you can sign up on our website. Shabbat Tish will be next Friday, December 13th. Nancy Cohen has graciously sponsored the evening's meal. Please register to give us a head count. It's a wonderful evening of music and storytelling and community. Saturday the 14th is our Shabbat hike at 9 a.m. We'll be at the Griffith Observatory. And on Friday, December 27th is our Shabbat Hanukkah celebration. We'll do the menorahs in the parking lot. We'll have latkes, sufganiyot, and music by our own DJ Michael Kaufman. You can find information about everything on our website, kol-ami.org. And if you have questions, I'll be in the lobby after services. Thank you.
Much, Leonard. Thank you, thank you. It's time to get your Hanukkah sweaters, my friends. Dust them off. And your Hanukkah dresses and suits and all of the fun Chazarai. 'Tis the season to bring in light, right? To bring in light. Let us almost conclude our service. We turn to Aleinu on page 586, and I invite you, if you are able, to rise in body or in spirit. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, latet gedula ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. So it is my honor to invite forward one more of our members of our community. This particular panel was requested tonight because it includes the name of the beloved of Steve Addison. So I invite Steve forward to share some words with you.
On the synagogue wall hangs the AIDS quilt panel for my partner of 10 years, my soulmate, William P. Leonard. It's been 28 years since we lost Bill to AIDS. Last year, when asked to speak, I focused on the loss and the years after he died. But a certain green and pink movie has made prequel stories very popular this year. So this year, I want to share a bit about Bill and how we met, our love story and the life we shared. It was January 1986. I was living in New York as I was the director of the American Theater Wing, the presenters of Broadway's Tony Award. I had free tickets to the preview of a new musical, Nonsense. As the car broke down for the family that was supposed to join me for the show, I decided to go to theater on my own for the very first time. It was a snowy night in Greenwich Village, and since I was on my own, I smoked a joint and went into that little Cherry Lane theater. Immediately, I saw this very handsome, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, and he was looking back at me. Each time I went to look at him throughout the evening, he was eyeing me as well. It was all so very intoxicating and exciting. After the show, we both were outside the theater looking at a sandwich sign with cast photos. And although we both kept checking each other out and smiling, neither of these normally outgoing people could make the first move. He then disappeared into the theater with his two friends. Confused by that, I decided to circle the block, and if he comes out when I return to the theater, hopefully we'll meet, and if not, I'm going home. And just as I approached the theater, he came out. We were on opposite sides of the street, and I started to walk while looking at each other. When we got to the proverbial fork in the road at Bleecker and 7th, we both started to go in different directions, but then just stopped, each thinking how sad that we're not going to meet somehow. Luckily, his friend says, "Go meet him already," and pushed him halfway into the street. And then he extended his hand and walked to me to say, "Hi, I'm Bill." And he invited me to get a drink with his friends. But by this point, the munchies had kicked in, so I told him I was starving. So he found a place with a bar and good food that he happened to have worked at years ago. We just seemed to click effortlessly. I blended with his friends easily, and we all went out dancing after. He was incredibly funny, smart, and clever, and one of the few actors who wasn't self-absorbed, but truly interested in others. Later that night, when we were alone, I learned that Bill was a Broadway singer, dancer, actor who had solos and key roles in Grease and Dreamgirls. Yes, he was the guy who sang Cadillac Car. I realized I had seen him perform in San Francisco, and even then I remember, just by watching him on stage, I had the hots for him. The next day he called me, and the next day I called him, and we just never stopped being with each other from that day on. Although he was a Catholic boy from the Bronx, raised by a single mom, and had been comfortably out since he was 16, while I was an upper middle class Jew from California, only recently out, and still getting used to my new gay life, we just seemed to have so much in common. We seemed to like the same things. There was a natural chemistry and ease with our connection, and we both slipped into each other's life easily. We just clicked as a couple. We later moved to San Francisco and bought a 1906 Victorian cottage with incredible views. Although still performing and directing in the Bay Area, he loved, as he put it, playing house together, as he liked to clean and do laundry and do the dishes, while I gardened, cooked, and did the decorating and social planning. Our friends used to say watching us entertain at home was like watching a perfect dance where both were so in sync with the other. And if I ever forgot something, it was as if he always read my mind, as he seemed to always walk in the door with that specific item. I felt like the luckiest guy in the world to have found this guy, and that he loved me back the same way. 8 years into our dream relationship, we learned that Bill was HIV positive. In those days, learning you had AIDS was a death sentence, and I don't think either of us were really interested in knowing, although it was not a huge surprise given his history and experiences. A year later, we started a roller coaster ride of illnesses, hospitalizations, crazy treatments, and navigating a whole new world with AIDS. It was heartbreaking to watch this once vibrant, energetic, talented young man become bedridden and wither away to skin and bones. Thank goodness for my friends who saw I was losing it, being a caregiver, and came to our rescue with so much assistance and support and love. And having just lost my mother, who was wonderful, but never missed an opportunity in her golden years to fetch, I look back with amazement that there wasn't one time from the time he became sick on that he ever complained. And although he was always so afraid of shots, he always thanked me when I had to give him an injection in his tush daily. Even his doctor remarked at his celebration of life how unique he was as a patient, calling her the goddess, always cracking jokes during the visit, or how he would sing while getting a daily transfusion. And then the inevitable happens when he takes his last breath. The music stops, and I'm alone. If I could go back knowing what I know, would I do it all differently? Absolutely no. I felt so fortunate to have had Bill and his love and friendship in my life for 10 magical years. Although I have had other boyfriends and relationships with some wonderful guys, there's never been anyone who is such a perfect match for me with whom I would want to spend a life together. And so nearly 3 decades later, I'm fortunate to still be here, able to look back and remember that special time in my life with Bill, to keep the memories alive. So as we mourn the loss of so many to this disease and the impact AIDS has had on all of us, and the incredible loss to our society of all of their talents, we can recall and celebrate the life of an amazing, funny, and fun young guy with an incredible voice who we lost too early at 42 years old. Bill's AIDS quilt has the final line from his solo song in Dreamgirls. Yes, Bill, you were, and you always will be my favorite star, shining brightly for all of us to see.
So our time has come for us to say Kaddish for so many tonight. The names will come up on the screen. I will first recite the names of those on our quilt, and then those within our community who are in a period of Shiva and Shloshim, the first 7 and the first 30 days. And I invite each of you who is remembering someone tonight, whether it is the anniversary of their death or someone who has died as a result of HIV/AIDS, to share their names. Our hearts go out to David and his family that are mourning the loss of his cousin, Eli Papier, in a period of Shiva. And tonight, we also remember Ish and Robert and Bill and Josh and Howard and David and John and Jeff. And we say Kaddish for Bernice Fettman, Minnie Mason, Joseph T. Heller, Irving Aronson, Max Primack, William Gold, Eva Altman, Ellie Hertz Sobel, Marcia Stone Sherman, Carol Kidd, Pauline Newman, Martin Cohen, Marshall Rio, Shirley Block, and Ruth Friedman. If you are a mourner amongst us, I invite you please to rise and recite the name of your loved one. I invite you all to rise in support of the mourners. We turn to page 598 and we recite Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chay dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. I invite you, if you are comfortable, to gather close to your Kol Ami family. And if it is something that puts you at ease, to put your arms around someone as we sing our beautiful song of peace. May there be peace for all who are in need.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
Before we bless in a minute, I'm going to ask you to come up on the side so our friends at home can see us. I just want to offer a huge thank you to Michael Sugar, to Travis Terry, to Steve Addison, to Reverend Keith Cox, to Ronnie Mardor, to Lisa Edwards, to Johanna Shore, to so many of you that shared your stories and your loved ones with us. Come up, come gather on the side so that we may bless, offer Kiddush, or you can even come up here on the bima and close our Shabbat.
We'll do the short one.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen lechaim.
L'chaim.
And our giant challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos. Thank you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.